Have you been doing your research online and wondered why there's such a price discrepancy for All-on-4 with so many different dentists? Also, when researching All-on-4, have you been confused as to all the different options such as zirconia or nanoceramics or hybrids? Hi, my name is Dr. Daniel Choi from North Texas Dental Surgery, Wisdom Teeth and Denture Implant Center, and I'm here to answer all these questions for you. Over the years, I've had so many patients been confused as to all the different prosthetic options. So what I did is I created a video that can hopefully answer all these questions for you. Just give me 18 minutes of your time and I promise you that it'll be well worth your time before you make your investment with All-on-4. All right, so this is Dr. Daniel Choi here with North Texas Dental Surgery, Wisdom Teeth and Denture Implant Center. And let's get right into it and talk about the All-on-4 prosthesis. So when we do an All-on-4, there's mainly two main parts to it. There's going to be the implants that are embedded in the bone that we see in this animation, and also the prosthesis, which is everything above the gums, which is the artificial gums and teeth. So this would be classified as a prosthesis. So we'll be focusing on this lecture mainly on this part. The reason why I want to focus on this is that there's just so much confusion going on with All-on-4, and a lot of times when patients come in for second opinions, or I've seen patients that were frustrated because they did invest in All-on-4, a lot of them didn't have much clarity in regards to what the options really were right from the beginning in regards from the temporary prosthesis to a final prosthesis, because there are different pros and cons of each, and also the cost, significant cost difference. So just to let you know also with the prosthesis, what it is it's actually an artificial body part. In this case, what we're talking about is fake teeth and gums. And they are made of many different materials, and there's going to be temporary ones, there's going to be permanent ones, and there's ones made of different materials. And so we'll go over that later on. So this is just All-on-4 surgery healing is it's very important to understand certain concepts about how you heal, because this has a huge impact as to why we do temporary versus your final prosthesis. So after surgery, we critically analyze two types of healing. So we're going to see how your implants are healing to the bone, and also how your bone and gums are going to reshape itself after the surgery. This is what we call bone and tissue remodeling. So when we do dental implants, typically takes about 3 to 4 months for your dental implant to actually fuse with your bone. Many dentists only focus on this type of healing, but it's also important that we also focus in on how your bone and gum heal over those next 6 months, because how that bone and gum shrink and change shape is very important in regards to how this prosthesis meets up with your natural gums. So just a little depiction of a photo. So this would be a little prosthesis. So artificial gums and teeth, and then this would, on this model, this is where your natural gums would be, and then this is where the dental implants would be. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to see the dental implants. They are embedded in your bone, and so the only way we could see your implants would be on an x-ray. So typical All-on-4 timeline. So what we do is you come in, you do the surgery. If you have teeth, we take your teeth out, we place the dental implants, we recontour the bone, and then also what we're going to do is we're going to send you home with a temporary, right? So you're going to wear this about 5-6 months. And then later on, after your dental implants have integrated, meaning your bone, you're basically fusing with the dental implant, I like to tell people it's like waiting for wet concrete to set around a post that you placed in there. But once that dental implant has integrated with the bone, it's going to be rock solid. So what you're going to do is, like, after that period of healing, and also after, after your surgery, we place your dental implants, you're going to wear this temporary for about 5-6 months. And then if everything looks good, your implants have fused well with your bone, and also your bone and gum have shrunk and come to a final shape. Then what we're going to do is we're going to then put you in a permanent prosthesis. And then we'll again be talking about the different types of permanent prostheses. But there's many different types, but that's when you would be in your final prosthesis. So again, if your implants appear to have healed properly and the bone and gum are done changing dimension, then the patient can be placed in the permanent prosthesis. So there's different types of prostheses. You heard me mention this before. There's a temporary one, and then there's a final one, right? So if you take a look at this, it's like, wait a second, they both look pretty good. What's the difference? Well, the temporary prosthesis is, again, the prosthesis you will wear for 6 months after your surgery. The final prosthesis is the permanent prosthesis you will wear for the rest of your life. And this is where all the confusion lies, and where all the deception lies from a marketing standpoint that some dental office can be a little shady about. And so you'll also see some bait and switching, which will occur when a dental office will offer a cheaper price. but then they also might give you a cheaper prosthesis. So hopefully this lecture can kind of clarify things for you so you don't make the wrong decision. So just a little bit more about the healing. So because there are two types of, because of these two types of healing, which is the implant healing and the bone and gum healing, it makes no sense to come out of your temporary too soon, or even worse, to not have a temporary made at all. Some all-on-4 centers recommend going into a final immediately after the surgery. So they will put you in your final prosthesis 2 days after surgery, which, I'll go into more detail in the future. I mean, like later on, that's a really bad idea. Imagine, and I have this a quick little example. Imagine you were to have a custom shoe made that could last forever. Would you have it made days after surgery when your foot would be really swollen? Well, when the swelling decreases, the shoe would fit very poorly, right? So imagine like this, like podiatrists can do a custom made, shoe for you. They got a mold of your foot when your foot was really swollen 2 days after surgery. When your foot a few months later has shrunk down to its normal size, it's kind of like you're now in a shoe that's way too, like a few sizes too big, right? And so that's definitely not good for you. And so, that's literally the same kind of thing, because what would happen is when it comes to dental implants and your prosthesis, what would happen is you would have gaps developing between your own natural gums and the fake gums of the prosthesis. This allows food, so basically if your gums were originally here because they got that mold, and basically over time your bone and gums were to start shrinking back, well, you're gonna start developing a gap in here. And so this allows food to get caught in these spaces. It's annoying, it's non-sanitary. Some people even complain about whistling when speaking. And so the amount of shrinkage that we see on people, it varies significantly, but it's definitely a significant concern. So, some centers actually recommend that you can go into a final immediately. If anyone tells you that, to me, that's honestly a huge warning sign. So again, going back to this, you would develop a gap between here, because over time, if this was a final prosthesis, you would have gaps developing because your bone and gum would be shrinking. So you would develop gap right here. So where your prosthesis meets your own natural gums, that's what we call a transition line. So you would see, some shrinkage of a transition line. So when we have, again, the temporary prosthesis, we have two main options in regards to how this is usually done. Now, 99% of the offices out there, they're going to do what the way it's always been done, and this is the way that we used to do it at North Texas Dental Surgery also. And this is what they call a chair-side conversion, where we spend approximately another 2.5 hours after your surgery, taking a conventional denture and retrofitting it to your mouth. So after I do the extractions, recontouring your bone, place your dental implants, another 2.5 hours, we're going to take a traditional denture, cut out all the extra acrylic, inject some acrylic in there, and custom fit it to your mouth so you can wear it as a temporary. And then another option would be the digital design and conversion, which is exactly what this is, and this is our new process, where we get an intraoral scan of your mouth after your implants are placed. We then digitally design your teeth and then mill out your prosthesis. So this is a temporary, it's beautiful, and it's very strong. What are some of the issues that we've seen with these temporary prostheses? So these are issues that anybody that does all-on-4 will tell you about, and even me, before we switched to a digital process, we had this problem a lot. But what will happen is that the temporary prosthesis made via the chair-side conversion process may break a few times, or it may break many times. They are just generally more brittle, they're weaker because, again, the process I was talking about, taking a denture, drilling out the excess, injecting acrylic in certain spaces and stuff like that, it just can make for a very weak prosthesis. So the temporary prosthesis, again, that I was talking about, made via the digital design process, will not break, or if it does, it's going to be very rare, and I haven't seen one break yet. If your temporary prosthesis was made via a chair-side conversion, and it were to break, it will require you to come back and have your prosthesis be repaired, which will require an hour or two. Each time you repair it, it gets weaker. If your temporary prosthesis was made via the digital design, we can print or mill another one ASAP, so it will be ready to place in your mouth. We don't repair them because it's just easier for us to print or mill it out. So just want to let you know. The bottom line is that temporaries made via the chair-side conversion will lead to many unexpected breaks, weaker prostheses over time, and just wasted time. So wanted to share with you real quick, we have a patient here. He had an upper all-on-4 done several years ago. He did it the traditional way, where they did a chair-side conversion. And during that time where he was waiting in his temporary for 6 months before he got his final zirconia prosthesis, which is a lot stronger, which he doesn't have any issues with. But that conversion, that 6-month process, he said it was brutal because it broke over 5 times. He lost count. So he was doing his lower with us, and he expected the same thing to happen to him again. Overall, he loves his all-in-4 again. The temporary process was brutal, but he was willing to go through it again because his lower teeth he was going to lose, and he wanted new teeth. And so let him share this testimonial with you.
All right, I had had an all-on-4 done on the top, and the temporary dentures were acrylic, and I broke those things. I lost count at least 5 times. I ended up super gluing the temporaries. This lower all-on-4 that I just had done with Dr. Choi, these are implant supported temporary dentures. And I was so concerned that I'd break them, I paid a little bit extra for a backup appliance, right? A spare. It's been a month and a half, and I haven't broken them yet. And if I can't break them, they're not likely to break. The new process seems to be heads and tails better than the old process. So the temporary dentures are more than likely going to last you, and you won't break them.
So it was really cool to basically hear from a patient kind of how the difference was between the traditional conversion process and how it ended up causing him so many issues in those first 6 months before he got his final zirconia prosthesis, versus our digital design process, which he didn't have any fractures at all before he went to Colombia for his trip. And because of his past experiences, he was basically expecting things to go wrong, but he didn't have any issues. So one thing that we wanted to bring up in regards to bait and switch on temporary prosthesis. So many people advertise online a cheap price. This is what most likely the cheap temporary prosthesis. They draw you in with a cheap price, they give you the cheap temporary prosthesis, and you will experience many frustrating fractures afterwards. To make matters worse, people will not be told the difference between a temporary and the final prosthesis and think that the temporary prosthesis is their final, and in their mouth is a final prosthesis. Further frustration occurs when they're told that they need to pay another lump sum of money to get a final prosthesis. Can't tell you how many times I've seen this. Patients see all-on-4 online. They know it's a great option. They see a cheap price, immediately go for it. And there's not a lot of explanation going from the implant center also. So let's talk about the final prostheses, because up to this point we've been talking about temporaries. So again, with the temporaries, there's going to be the chairside conversion versus the digital design process that we use. But for the final prosthesis, after the first 6 months, this is the prosthesis that you're going to wear for the rest of your life. Some people might not even offer it, and also some people might put you in your final prosthesis too soon. So again, there's all these discrepancies. Let's talk about the 3 different options in the first place. So there's the hybrid option. It is the acrylic teeth and gums baked onto the titanium substructure. This is the oldest option. We don't even offer it at North Texas Dental Surgery. We don't think it's a great long-term option. So second option would be zirconia. It's made from zirconium dioxide. It is very strong ceramic. We also have NANOCERAMIC, which is a blend of polymer and ceramic materials. So let's go a little bit in detail about what those are. So the bottom line is the hybrid final prosthesis. The hybrid final prosthesis is the oldest option available. It is the cheapest option available of the final prosthesis options. It won't break in half because of the titanium substructure, but the acrylic surface will stain and stink if you don't clean it well. And the teeth and gums can fracture off the titanium substructure. So you could see some of these images here. Kind of a scary thought when your teeth are breaking off like that, when this is supposed to be a final prosthesis. Totally repairable, but it's going to be a frustrating process. Also looks great day one, but over time, because of its acrylic, it can stain more, and again, build up some bacteria. Because of these factors, teeth will need to be replaced in 5 to 7 years due to wear and staining. When they replace your teeth, you will have to go back into a temporary for a week or two. And then this whole process, the cost will be another $2,500 on average to repair those, to go through this process. So, when you're looking at final prosthesis options, like if someone, your specialist or, your implant center is going over it with you, they're going to tell you, okay, this is what a hybrid's going to cost versus zirconia versus like a NANOCERAMIC. And so immediately people will be like, well, let's just go with the hybrid. Well, again, understand that another $2,500, 5 to 7 years, staining issues, aesthetic issues, more pain in the butt because the teeth may be fracturing off. Is it really worth it? That's why here at North Texas Dental Surgery, we don't offer it. The bottom line for the zirconia final prosthesis, zirconia has been around for many years and been used extensively all on four for probably at least 6 years. Very strong and aesthetic material. You don't have the issues you have with the hybrid prosthesis. Tracks way less bacteria than an acrylic prosthesis. The biggest drawback, honestly, it's heavier than acrylic, and if you ever needed to add another implant in the future, you have to fabricate an entirely new prosthesis. So that's honestly like the biggest problem with it. If you ever develop any issues, it's just not friendly in that sense of, you know, working with this material. You're just gonna have to start from scratch and make a whole nother one. And also the bottom line with the NANOCERAMIC final prosthesis, it's been around for several years. It is one of the newer prosthetic options available for all on four. It is also highly aesthetic. Some may say it's even more aesthetic than zirconia, weighs less than zirconia, but still pretty strong, very strong. They claim due to the nature of the material, it flexes and feels more natural in the mouth versus zirconia. And if you ever needed to place another implant, you could still work with this material and not have another prosthesis made, as in the case with zirconia. So, you know, obviously when we go through the whole process, can implants fail? Absolutely. Usually they're going to fail in the first month or two, but there are definitely things that can happen in the long term. I've been placing implants since 2008, probably placed about 10,000 implants in my career. Have I seen implants fail? Absolutely. So it's definitely nice to be able to prepare around something going wrong. Questions to ask on the phone or a consult. So I would ask them, do you do a temporary prosthesis or do you head straight to a final prosthesis? Remember that if they head straight to a final prosthesis, you can have to restart the process if an implant doesn't integrate. Also, your gum and bone shrinkage will create gaps between your prosthesis and your natural gums. Also, is your temporary prosthesis done by a chairside conversion or a digital design process? Chairside conversions mean a longer day of surgery. The chairside conversion temporary prosthesis will be weaker and have a tendency to break more, requiring more follow-up visits and frustration. Is your listed price online for a converted temporary denture or is it for a final prosthesis? The converted temporary denture will be much cheaper, but if it's made via a chairside conversion, it will break too often and put you in a bad situation. And quite frankly, it's not worth it. If your listed price online is for a final prosthesis, what is the cost of the different final prosthesis options, such as hybrid, zirconia, or nanoceramic? The hybrid option will be cheaper than the zirconia or nanoceramic, but will have aesthetic and durability concerns over the long haul. As a result, they'll have to pay, you'll have more long-term costs, such as $2,500 more 5 to 7 years later to get new gums and teeth on there. So final thoughts. Be aware of anybody putting you in a final prosthesis in less than a week after surgery. Some centers will do this to market convenience of getting your final teeth ASAP. And again, everyone gets drawn to like, hey, let's do things faster, and faster. But at the same time, we do have to question, hey, is this really good for you? And so here in North Texas Dental Surgery, we're always going to be concerned about your long-term results. We want to do things right. And we want to do things as quick as possible, so we'll try to always meet you in the middle. Tissue and bone shrinkage will occur in the first 6 months. You will experience gaps opening up between the prosthesis and the gums that will cause whistling and food impaction. Don't let anybody put you in a final prosthesis too soon. And finally, zirconia and nanoceramics are both great options for a final prosthesis. Can't go wrong with either. The nanoceramic does offer a bit more flexibility if you were ever to develop any implants, issues with any of your implants. So hopefully this information was helpful for you guys. Over the years, I've just seen so many patients have frustrations because they went in the wrong direction or they were misled, unfortunately, sometimes. So this is going to be a large investment. It's life-changing. It's going to be able to give you that chewing and that function and that confidence back again. We just definitely want to make sure that when you're going through all of this and making this investment, that you're going to get the best prosthesis available for you. So hopefully you guys found this information helpful. If you guys ever have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or come in for a consultation. More than happy to help guide you guys through this process. Thank you.